I'm sorry I did that to us, man. Oh.
No, please.
No one saw this coming. Not like this. Not after everything that surfaced. The courtroom was silent, not because of respect, but because of disbelief. After months of explosive headlines, leaked footage, damning testimony, and what seemed like an airtight case, the verdict dropped like a bombshell. Not guilty. 3 words that erased months of testimony in seconds. And when that verdict was read, Joe Rogan, a man known for his composure and unapologetic honesty, sat back in stunned silence, and then, to the shock of his podcast audience, wiped away tears. He wasn't crying out of sympathy for Diddy, not a chance. He was crying because the system had failed again.
Like all this Diddy that's coming out. Like,
I was just going to say, doesn't that sound topical?
Jesus Christ. The first day of the trial, did you pay attention to any of that stuff? I looked at it for like 10 minutes this morning, and I was like, I got to stop. I can't look at this.
Well, what freaks me out is the people sitting in the courtroom listening to it.
Right.
And there's a wide spectrum of people that are getting subjected to it, and you just sit there and go,
yeah, well, not only that, how about the fact that this guy was running this for decades?
For Rogan, this wasn't just another scandal. It wasn't just another celebrity meltdown or courtroom circus. It was personal. He had spent months breaking down every development in the Diddy case, every new accusation, every clip, every piece of evidence. His studio had become a war room, a place where truth mattered more than status, more than reputation, more than money. And now all of that had been undone by 12 jurors and 1 verdict. Sean Diddy Combs, the mogul who built an empire on music, endorsements, and influence, walked out of court that day a free man. And while cameras flashed and reporters scrambled for quotes, one thing was clear: something wasn't right. Rogan knew it. The public knew it. Even some of the people inside that courtroom knew it. How did we get here?
And how many of them went to the Diddy parties? Have you been paying attention to the trial?
Oh, yeah.
trials. Wild.
Why don't they air it the same way they aired the coverage that
Johnny
Depp got?
I know. Why don't they? I don't know. They should. The ratings would be amazing.
Unreal.
It's just amazing how many people on the Diddy party list that are supporting Kamala.
Yeah, seriously. It's like insane.
Publicly, openly, all in.
Yes. It's like J-Lo was like his ex-girlfriend. and it's like now deciding she's like warning people against Trump. I'm like, well, wait a second. So how many people did she warn against Diddy?
Right.
Oh, 0. Okay.
Right.
Well, maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion.
The trial had been one of the most talked about events in recent memory. From the moment the allegations broke, the spotlight was burning hot. Federal prosecutors brought charges that were described by legal experts as overwhelming. The scope was unprecedented, not just isolated claims, but a network of incidents, patterns, and testimonies from multiple individuals spanning decades. Diddy, of course, denied everything. His legal team, comprised of some of the best attorneys money could buy, insisted that the case was a coordinated smear campaign. They painted him as the victim, the target of envious outsiders trying to take down a black billionaire. They used every trick in the book, motions to suppress, character defenses, discrediting witnesses, and delays that dragged the case out until public attention began to fracture. But even with all of that, few believed he'd actually walk free.
I mean, everybody hung with Diddy. That's the other tricky thing. Like, Diddy hung out with everybody. And I've spoken to a bunch of people who are like, yo, great dude, like, always there for you, never asked for a single thing.
Till 1 a.m.
And then freak off.
Everybody says, get out of the house.
Yeah.
It's like the gremlins start eating after midnight.
What up? How you living? Do not entertain none of this nonsense and nothing over the phone. I'm gonna need you to get rid of all the leftover pizza boxes. The what? All the boxes left over from the pizza. All the boxes. Make sure you recycle the plastic like we talked about. Yeah. Can you reach out yet? Nah, Bob. He ghosting. I just motherfucker doing it. These things tweet now because I'm in here. It's all good. You about to get out on bail. Everybody out there quiet as a motherfucker. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We gonna let them have their little fun, but I'm still gonna have the last laugh. About all these lawsuits though, Pablo. Ain't none of them getting shit. I ain't worth nothing. Ain't got shit in my name anyway. Don't even worry about it. But you're money hungry.
Because this wasn't a case built on rumors. This wasn't a scandal based on clickbait. It was real stories, real documents, real witnesses, the kind of stuff that usually ends careers or sends people away for good. That's why the moment the not guilty verdict came in, the world stopped. Social media exploded. Some fans celebrated, calling it a win for Diddy and a slap in the face to what they claimed was a biased media narrative. But the louder crowd, the one that had been following the case closely, reacted with outrage, disbelief, and heartbreak. And at the front of that wave of fury was Joe Rogan. Rogan had gone deep into the case for months. He wasn't just reacting to headlines. He had interviewed former insiders, reviewed court transcripts, studied timelines, cross-referenced details. He'd even brought on legal experts, whistleblowers, and former industry figures who painted a picture that was impossible to ignore. This wasn't about conspiracy. This was about connections, events that spanned years, always with Diddy at the center. So when the verdict came, Rogan didn't just react. He broke down. In an unscripted moment during his podcast that night, he looked into the camera and said, "I've seen a lot of bad verdicts in my life, but this one hit different." His voice cracked. His co-host sat in stunned silence, and for a full minute, there was no conversation, just silence. Viewers could see it in his face, the anger, the disbelief, the pain. He called it a turning point. If a man with that much smoke around him can walk away clean, Rogan said, then what's the point of any of it? Because this wasn't just about Diddy walking free, it was about what it meant. It meant power still protected the guilty. It meant wealth still bent the system. And it meant that if you were famous enough, connected enough, and rich enough, you could rewrite the truth in real time. Rogan wasn't the only one who felt betrayed. Public sentiment flipped almost instantly. Protesters gathered outside the courthouse. Online petitions exploded. Celebrities who had remained quiet started speaking up, not with accusations, but with frustration. Frustration that the truth had been drowned in legal jargon and high-priced distractions. What stung the most wasn't just the verdict, it was how confident Diddy looked walking out of that courtroom. He didn't look relieved. He looked smug, victorious, like someone who had always known the outcome before the trial even began. And maybe he did. That's what Joe Rogan kept circling back to. The feeling that justice was never actually on the table, that the outcome had been bought, shaped, and secured long before the first witness took the stand. And the more he spoke, the more people started asking the same questions. Why did key witnesses suddenly back out? Why were certain pieces of evidence deemed inadmissible? Why were entire timelines dismissed by the judge without explanation? One former industry exec told an independent journalist that what people witnessed in the courtroom wasn't justice, it was theater. Carefully orchestrated, meticulously controlled, and Diddy wasn't just the defendant, he was the director. Joe Rogan echoed that sentiment. It wasn't a trial, he said. It was a production. And the audience, the public, had been played. In the weeks following the verdict, more disturbing developments came to light. A juror was caught on camera being approached by someone tied to one of Diddy's longtime associates. Nothing criminal was proven, but the optics were awful. Another witness came forward to say they had been offered support if they chose not to testify. Again, no direct evidence linked it to Diddy, but the pattern was undeniable. And through it all, Diddy kept quiet. No apology, no reflection, just carefully crafted statements about moving forward and protecting his legacy. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan kept the spotlight burning. He released a series of special episodes dissecting the verdict, exposing inconsistencies, and urging his massive audience not to forget. They want you to move on, he warned. They want you to scroll past this, to click on the next story, the next trend. But we can't, because in Rogan's view, Diddy's trial wasn't just a legal case. Etrad to me, a symbol of how broken the system still is, of how fame protects the powerful while everyone else gets buried. And it sent a chilling message to other survivors, whistleblowers, and insiders. Even with overwhelming evidence, you might still lose. That's what broke Joe Rogan the most. He wasn't just mourning a bad verdict. He was mourning the idea that truth no longer mattered, that you could spend years building a case, gathering facts, fighting back, and still watch the person at the center of it all walk free with a smile. The emotional reaction wasn't a performance. It was real, raw. A moment of vulnerability from someone who's built a career on dissecting hard truths. It reminded his audience that even the strongest voices can feel helpless in the face of injustice. But it also reignited a movement. Fans began organizing again, not just against Diddy, but against the system that let him go. People started digging into other cases, looking for patterns, connections, signs of manipulation. They weren't chasing conspiracies, they were chasing accountability. Because Diddy's acquittal wasn't just a failure of justice, it was a warning that power still corrupts, that influence still silences, and that even in an age of instant information, the truth can be buried if the right people are paid to hold the shovel. Joe Rogan may have shed tears that night, but those tears weren't a sign of defeat, they were fuel, a fire that reminded people what's at stake. And now, more than ever, his message is clear. This isn't over, not by a long shot. In the aftermath of the verdict, the entertainment industry tried to return to business as usual. Talk shows shifted to lighter topics. Headlines moved on to the next scandal, but the wound was still fresh. Joe Rogan, still reeling from the decision, warned that sweeping this under the rug would only lead to more silence, more damage, and more manipulation. And he wasn't alone. Several whistleblowers, emboldened by the public outcry, began contacting independent journalists. Some anonymously, others more directly. What they revealed wasn't just disturbing, it was systemic. Multiple insiders described a carefully cultivated culture around Diddy. It wasn't just about what happened behind closed doors, they said. It was about control. The control over contracts, opportunities, and perception. Former assistants, security personnel, and low-level label employees painted a picture of an empire designed not only to protect its image, but to suppress dissent. Employees who asked too many questions were let go. Artists who stepped out of line were dropped or blackballed. Even more alarming were the rumors of missing digital records. One source revealed that shortly before the trial, entire years of emails and communications from internal servers were wiped under the pretense of a data migration. No one on the inside believed that excuse, but no one had the power to challenge it either. And with Diddy's legal team stonewalling every inquiry, most of those records may be lost forever. Behind the scenes, some say more legal challenges are brewing. The not guilty verdict may have cleared Diddy in this trial, but it may have opened doors for civil suits and new investigations. Already, watchdog groups and private investigators are looking into financial trails, off-the-books settlements, and connections that were never explored in court. And Joe Rogan is keeping the spotlight exactly where it belongs, right on Diddy. As the dust settled from the shocking verdict, the public's trust in the legal system began to crumble in real time. Commentators across the political spectrum started questioning how a case with such a deep pool of evidence could fall apart so cleanly in front of the world. Analysts weren't just breaking down the jury's decision, they were questioning whether the courtroom was ever the real battleground. Was this about facts, or was it about influence? Behind the scenes, Rogan's podcast became a rallying point. Clips of his emotional reaction were shared millions of times. Fans didn't just sympathize with his frustration, they echoed it. Comment sections across platforms became flooded with demands for accountability, and yet no appeals were filed, no retrial announced. The silence from the justice system grew louder by the day. Diddy, now free from the immediate legal threat, resumed his public appearances with a disturbing sense of confidence. Just weeks after the trial ended, he was seen at an exclusive industry event, shaking hands with executives, posing for photos, and laughing as if nothing had happened. His demeanor wasn't just defiant, it was dismissive. It sent a clear message: He wasn't afraid of anything or anyone. Meanwhile, multiple advocacy organizations began issuing statements condemning the verdict. Survivors' rights groups called it a betrayal. Independent watchdogs cited the case as a prime example of how fame and wealth create legal blind spots. They demanded reforms, tighter protections for witnesses, more transparency in jury selection, and stronger limits on how influence and connections can interfere with justice. But above all, they demanded that people not forget that this case, no matter its legal outcome, remain a symbol of what happens when power is prioritized over truth.